I'm Joe Dante, and I'm here with Ray Harryhausen, oft referred to as Effects Whiz and stuff like that, to talk about Earth vs. the Flying Saucers, which was made in 1956. It was the second of Ray's movies that I ever saw in a theater, the first being It Came From Beneath the Sea. Ray, what can you tell us about how this particular project came about?
Well, it came about by our producer, Charles Schneer. He liked to look in the paper every morning and cut out clippings of pertinent things that were happening at that time. And during the 50s, of course, the flying saucers were seen quite a lot. But the Earth versus the Saucers gave me a challenge to try to give an inanimate object such as this saucer a character, that there was intelligent life.
Now you had to move this one little tiny bit, and then take a frame.
That's correct.
Another tiny bit, and of course the bottom also moves.
This
takes someone more dexterous than I to do it.
Right.
And
they move in different directions.
And plus, they had to be suspended in some
Absolutely, way. They had to be suspended with wire, and it had to give the illusion. We felt something should be whirling to give the impression keeping these things aloft, because they were supposed to be done by atomic radiation of some sort. And we felt that it worked quite well. And then it gave the saucers a character. We could give them tips and movements as though they were being guided by intelligent beings inside.
Unlike some of the other pictures that were made about this. These were, I have to say, among the most electrifying special effects that I had ever seen in a movie when I saw this picture, and I think they continue so today. Orson Welles, was a big fan of this picture and used a lot of this footage in a picture called F for Fake that he did. The other thing that's interesting about this film is that there's a lot of blending of your material with previously shot material. There's a particularly exciting use of an actual jet crash.
Yes, we took advantage of that because we had a mechanism in the saucer that produced a death ray. And when we saw this footage, the stock footage, we thought, that'll be great because we can cover up the fact that they crashed together in this air show with the explosion of the ray. And it worked out quite well.
When you were doing your storyboards, I understand that instead of having them entirely illustrated, that sometimes you actually had taken photos and drew your material over the photos that you'd taken.
Yes, that's quite correct. We had to do these things very quickly because we were on a very low budget. And so I went and took a series of photographs where I felt the setups would be the most effective, and then brought the photographs back and painted on them and used the photographs as a storyboard. I also made sketches which bridged the various photographs for the whole picture.
It should be pointed out, I think, that your sketches include the interior of the flying saucer. And,
that's correct.
And the general production design of the movie, which is, I think, one of its best features.
Yes, well, we had to do it, as I say, on such a low budget that they used a lot of my designs in the final art direction of the film. So
I guess Sam Kathman wasn't going to spring for you to go out to a real rocket base and shoot any
Well, we actually did. We wanted to go to Point Magoo, and we found a rocket base there. But it didn't quite suit our needs, and there were complications in doing that. So we ended up at the Hermosa sewage plant, where they process all the sewage of Los Angeles. And it was an interesting experience because down in the basement there were pipes galore, and it looked just like what you would imagine a rocket base to look like. And it did two things for us. When Charles heard about the sound of the muck going through the pipes, it made a very strange sound, and that was the sound we used for the saucers. We combined that with other sounds,
really?
and it's actually the basis of the sound of the whirling of the saucers and the mechanisms that go with it.
The thrill and excitement of this picture at the time was that we saw actual monuments destroyed, which is always a plus in movies. And of course, you didn't have the money to destroy Washington.
No, that was one of the big problems. I've always been tied up with low-budget pictures, particularly in the black and white period. And so the only way to do... Actually, if you were going to do this type of destruction, you would want to use high-speed photography, 96 frames or 120 frames a second. But that requires a vast crew. So I ended up actually animating every piece that blew up. So we had this a dome like this designed, as well as the other miniatures used in the picture, all pre-broken. And then we would put a double print and explosion in it, and then each frame of film, you'd gradually animate the explosion of the top of the
Now,
dome.
what would you do for actual pieces? There's a lot of scenes where things are falling on people, and things are actually falling through the frame. How do you manage
Well,
that?
we would have little pieces that we would put on wires. And I had maybe 10 wires with pieces. Each wire had a separate piece on it. And then each frame of film...
Now, why don't we see the
animate it
wires
down.
in the movie?
Because if you did, then I would have failed. On the wires, you have to paint them out every frame.
Oh, on the negative?
On the set while you're shooting.
Oh.
Because if the saucer passes a cloud, it goes white. And if it goes onto the blue sky, this was black and white, you would see it stand out. So every frame of film, you have to look into the camera and paint the wires out to match the background.
Now, one of the things that I think you do best, and other people who have done the kind of thing that you do don't do as well, is that you are a master of lighting. And one of the really best sequences in Earth vs. the Flying Saucers is a nighttime scene over the forest, with the forest fire and the nighttime flying saucers.
Oh, yes.
Now, how do you correlate figuring out how the lighting is going to be, particularly when you're using footage that maybe you didn't even shoot?
Yes, a lot of it. When we do shoot the actual footage with the cameraman, of course, I make notes about the direction of the sun and the direction of the lighting if it's a night scene. But if you're using foreign footage, you have to look at the background, run it through the moviola, and then try to match the lighting to make the saucer so it doesn't stand out like it's glued on to the film.
Now, how much on-set involvement did you have on this picture?
A great deal of on-set. You mean during the production?
During the production
yes.
of the movie?
Quite a bit, yes. Because I have to stage all my own scenes, because if you move the camera a couple of feet this way or a couple of feet that way, it could make the difference between the animation taking maybe 2 days or a week. So because we were on a tight budget, all these pictures have to be laid out very carefully. And that's why we have those storyboards, to lay it out so that we know exactly what scenes and where the close-ups
Now, you
go.
show these to the actors, so they have a sense of
And then we show
what...
this to the actors, and it guides the director of what we have to do. Because if you didn't lay it out ahead of time, you would be shooting a lot of extra footage that wasn't necessary.
And you can't afford it.
And we can't afford it.
Well, Ray, it was a swell picture in 1956 when I saw it on a double bill at the Denville Theater with the 27th Day, and it's still a great picture.
Oh,
so
great.
Thanks
Thank
a lot.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.